News came out this week that Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema had some new Tolkien films in the works. Today on Speculative Tolkienism, we speculate on these potential films, starting with an anime project called The War of the Rohirrim. Finding herself in an increasingly desperate situation, Hera, the daughter of Helm, must summon the will to lead the resistance against a deadly enemy intent on their total destruction. What do we make of this? Let's test drive this elephant and find out.
Okay, so
how does that sound to you?
Can I've read. I got a glimpse of the some of the lines that Hera says.
Oh no!
And yes, and she's standing in front of like a tribunal.
Oh, sorry.
And they were like telling her that she didn't know what she was talking about, and she got really angry, and she said, "I am the avalanche." Thank you. You got that one right.
Yeah, I got that one.
This is gonna suck, dude. This is gonna suck,
dude.
I mean,
okay, so look, I love women.
Of course you do.
I have a daughter. I have a wife. I love women to death. But if Hera is going to be the avalanche in any way, shape, or form, it's just going to be another one of those.
That is absolutely where it's headed. I mean, look, hopefully it's written well and it's not so ham-fisted as Rings of Power.
It will probably be better.
I mean, I will give it.
But I mean, isn't that pretty standard for anime? Like, girl who looks like she sings for a K-pop band, like doing stuff.
Yeah, and comes in and does karate.
Yeah,
the idea of watching, the Battle of Helm's Deep, like in cartoon. We've already sat through that a couple of times for with Bakshi. And I mean,
but this isn't the Battle of Helm's Deep. This is
but it's taking place at what now will be Helm's Deep,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Personally, I feel like without hobbits, Middle Earth, any kind of Middle Earth story is not going to have the mass appeal. Not that hobbits were Tolkien's like masterstroke of like appealing to the masses, but I think there's something about a story with hobbits in it that's going to endear the story to most people. But
I'll even go one step further, that anything with dwarves or elves or anything like that could be any kind of sword and sorcery type, I mean, Tom Cruise made Legend. You know what I'm saying? Hobbits are the thing, the hobbits and Gandalf. So Gandalf is in this apparently, right? But the hobbits and Gandalf.
Okay, yeah.
That's what kind of makes Middle Earth is, as we know it. It's from the hobbits' perspective. But again, this is like this is what we identify with when we're watching Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm talking about? Because again, it's already been shown that when you write a Lord of the Rings story from an elf perspective, it's not that effective, at least in my opinion.
There is a tempest in me.
Right. So, that being said, I mean, I'm sure they're going to find a way to put hobbits in here somehow.
Yeah, one would hope.
It's part of like the history of Theoden had heard of hobbits.
The thing about Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit had levels. There was like the Hobbit level and there was the elf level, and you had all these levels and different understandings of reality. And I think people love that because all those levels kind of inform the human experience. But when you're just watching humans do sword play with each other, it's just there's something lacking, and it doesn't have nearly the interest or the majesty.
What they should do is they should do the Battle of Green Fields and what led up to that.
Okay.
With Bullroarer took when he invented golf. And so you have the hobbits actually fighting orcs, right? So you can like I think that would be way more entertaining than because it would take place on a small scale. It's probably like what,
and
like
there'd be
50.
some golf. It would
It
take
would, but
place
I
on
want to say that there could be like here's
a
these
putting
hobbits.
green.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. But I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I think that would be
that's
way
great.
more entertaining than Helm's Deep. Because Helm's Deep's like this big grandiose thing, but to me, it's like the hobbits is like, oh, they're actually defending their stakes at, you know, they you know, they're defending their home. You know,
I agree. Like, there's something too mannish about all the events in Gondor and Rohan that just make it. Yeah, you might as well just be watching actual historical battles, like the Viking series. That was loosely based on when the Vikings invaded Paris or whatever. What?
That was loosely based on Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, it's loosely based on historical events and semi-legendary historical events. And I like that series a lot, but when you see Tolkien, it's like you want to see hobbits. You're going there to see these hobbits because it's like the whole idea is that a hobbit is like a proto-human who has infinite potential. It's surprising because you just think they're just these little pastoral creatures, but you don't want to see. It's I go back to points I made when we were talking about Rings of Power. It's like you don't necessarily care to watch important people do important things. You want to watch little people hitting each other.
Little people hitting each other. That's what I like.
More of the funny show. The little puppets hitting each other. That's what I like. Little things hitting each other.
But I think that you could probably actually make a really good movie, completely Hobbit centric. You could bring Gandalf in. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You would have orcs, which again, a very familiar type enemy. Like no one really knows who the Dunlendings are, or like the Corsairs or whatever. I mean, they're mentioned, but I mean, when you say Lord of the Rings enemy, you think of Nazgul, Sauron, and orcs.
I mean, you could have even Ents from the Old Forest.
The Entwives, again.
Yeah.
They have stories. The Entwives could be on the wrong side. You know what I'm saying? They could build the wall between Buckland and the Old Forest. They could. There's a ton of things that they could do that they could bring in. You can actually probably either make a series out of it or whatever. And I think it would be like again not to the rising to the level of carrying like the most evil of weapons into Mordor and disposing of it in Mount Doom. Would be the hobbits kind of rising to the occasion, and facing an enemy and defeating an enemy and what they have to do.
Because I think until that time, the hobbits were pretty much unknown in the world.
Right. Again, it's like here's like this is where our hero hobbits. This is where like the Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam all come from. These are their ancestors.
Right.
I mean, and they're direct ancestors.
You know what? I actually just saw that there were a few hobbits that participated in the Battle of Fornost, which is one of the last, which is a battle in the Witch King of Angmar Wars.
Right, but that was like way.
But that was like
Third Age, right?
That was like almost 1,000 years before.
Oh, you know why? You know why I know when it was 1974 because that was the year. But the point is, it's like that to me. I'm probably just like like I've got to sit on this for a minute. But I mean, I think that would be a way better film than like I would be more apt to watch Battle of Greenfields than the War of the Rohirrim. I mean, it hands down.
Yeah, as well as young Aragorn. Did you hear about this one?
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Young Aragorn, the adventures of young Aragorn. Oh,
Isn't there a movie Young Einstein?
There was Young Einstein, which is actually
Young Frankenstein. Movie. That's what I'm thinking.
There's Young Einstein. No, Young Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, Young Sherlock Holmes. Young
Sherlock Holmes.
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein, and then there was Young Indiana Jones, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's like, shut up, Elrond. You're not my real dad. You can't tell me what to do.
I can imagine this pimply Aragorn.
You can't play with that sword. You'll poke your eye out. You can't tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do.
He's got some like
Elrond. Can I borrow the keys to the Mumakil?
Yeah, I know.
I want to take Arwen on a date.
He's got some jalopy sword that's like welded together pot metal. He's like, I'm going to be a king one day.
You don't understand.
You know who I am. I'm Elendil. I'm going to be the king of all the land. I'm trying to get my voice to crack. I can't.
Right, I'm trying. I was hanging out with Glorfindel, and he tried to give me some marijuana. He put peer pressure on me, so I tried some. I'm sorry.
No, I was hanging out with this weird short hobbit named Bilbo, and he gave me some pipe weed, and
made me feel funny.
It made me feel like all tingly all over. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna go. Me and the boys are gonna go down to Bree. This ale tastes really funny. Do you have any wine coolers? The Peter Jackson had Aragorn not wanting to be king. He was like the reluctant king. You know what I'm talking about? Where the book Aragorn was like, I am king, mother effers. And
wait, I never noticed reluctance on Aragorn to be king in Peter Jackson.
Well, go and rewatch it.
Really?
Yeah. There was there was a reluctance. He did not want anybody to know he was. Like when you watch the.
Are you sure that wasn't just OPSEC?
Nope. He felt like he was a reluctant ruler, and then he had to, because I think that, I mean, honestly, like when you watch it, he grows into the king.
I don't even know if I might edit this out, but can I make a confession?
Sure.
I really liked Mortensen in Fellowship, right? I didn't like King Aragorn in Return of the King after he was crowned. I found him too poncy.
Yeah,
I like that.
No, I actually do agree with that. The King Aragorn, Aragorn worked for me up until
he became king.
Yeah.
You expect the king to suddenly be like, rise, subject, like
approach
the throne, approach His Majesty. Real quick, have you seen this story? Also, I mean, Lord of the Rings has been in the news this week.
Yes, I've seen the story.
You saw the story? Yeah, it's kind of cringe and embarrassing, but the UK government. It's a UK government agency. It's an agency called Prevent, and it's a kind of a terrorism task force, or an agency to help raise awareness about possible terroristic threats in the population. They recently issued a warning about some of the greatest works of British literature, including Shakespeare and Tolkien, as being key texts for white supremacists. Texts that potentially could cause people to become terrorists. Dangerous to society, a menace to society, terrorists. Can you believe that?
There was a time when, not long ago, when you say, "Oh, I read Lord of the Rings," right?
Yeah.
And the immediate response would be nerd.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
But you know what? Because we make this series, Speculative Tolkienism, I have been interacting with YouTube in the Tolkien sphere, and I was wondering why I got some recommended videos on Molotov cocktails,
Yeah, I got an advertisement for the Anarchist Cookbook, so I've got that coming.
Right.
It's only now being tagged white supremacy because,
why?
or
Why?
whatever
Why do you think that is?
Because I don't know. I mean, maybe because it's very, very Eurocentric. I mean, like it's
Right.
written as a, it's written. It was written as a an English fairy tale, like an
Right.
alternate history of England.
Right. They see that as a threat as much as they see someone like, not to bring up Ted Kaczynski again, but the Unabomber as a threat to the system that they're creating, in which the world is modern and it's multicultural, and this is kind of a holdout of a prior, or an England that people still find very endearing, which is smaller and pastoral and more monocultural. Like back in 2020 when they were destroying all the statues, there seems to be an agenda to destroy the past, destroy history.
As you take, and I read this in 1984 of all things, which is probably on this government list too.
I think it is. Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that
which
ironic?
Again, like, yeah, I know. But it's like when you take away different words, right? When everything is good, you take away the different words to describe stuff, then your ideas start shutting down and rolling back. I mean, that was kind of like the central kind of idea to that, what Winston Smith did, and I mean, and it's funny, speaking of Winston Smith and changing up books, I mean, they're doing that with Roald Dahl stuff right now. I don't understand how anybody thinks it's a good idea.
Well, I think what you're referring to is Roald Dahl's. They were gonna take out some words like fat and ugly and stuff like that. Yeah, as a half measure, they decided to like release two versions. Oh, now if you're into that kind of thing, you can buy the expurgated version, the one without the gamut. One more thing. So someone tweeted this out, that there might be this new Bombadil musical set in Middle Earth with James Corden.
Is that real?
I don't know. What do you think?
That would be awful. That would be the worst thing in the world, because James Corden is not funny.
Well, I have some test footage from like a pilot that I found.
Oh.
I've also heard that there's one other person contending for the role of Bombadil.
I always wanted to be an actor, ever since I was a kid, and Wills and I watched The Karate Kid. So when Megan's Hollywood friends at Warner Brothers put some feelers out and asked me if I wanted to play Tom Bombadil in their new big-budget J.R.R. Tolkien extravaganza, I couldn't turn it down. I have some old wellies that we used to use up in Balmoral that I can paint yellow. And speaking of yellow, I was hoping Megan could play Goldberry, my lovely wife, and I can bring her stuff and rub her feet. It would be really, really convincing, since we do that anyway on long weekends in Montecito.
Yeah, okay.
I would watch that one way before I watched the James Corden one.
Me too, yeah.